A cold smile curled at the corner of Emily's lips as she leaned forward slightly. Do I need you to remind me of Elder Su's character? On the contrary, as Elder Su's disciple, I never expected Xiao Immortal Madam to meddle in her master's private affairs. Being so wary of the women around Elder Su, it seems the relationship between the two of you is quite extraordinary. Xiao Ruoqing was fuming with anger at Emily's words. I was just kindly reminding you, Miss Emo. If you don't want to listen, then forget it. Then she left behind some Dan pills for healing and turned to leave. Emily looked at the Dan pills in his hand with a gloomy expression. Humph, Xiao Ruoqing and Su North, you despicable couple. After being betrayed by you in the past, in this life, I will make sure to crush you to dust and scatter your ashes to the wind. Upon hearing the commotion outside, Emily stepped out of the red pavilion. The moment Emily appeared, everyone's gaze turned in her direction. Emojan, upon seeing Emily, quickly spoke up. Lear, are you all right? However, it seemed as if Emily hadn't heard him at all, as she walked straight to Su North and gave a light bow. Then she turned to Emojan and explained, Father, it was Elder Su who saved me just now. After noticing that I was not in a good state, he immediately took me to the cold jade pool in the red pavilion for treatment. As soon as Emily spoke, the surrounding crowd erupted into an uproar once again. It seems that Elder Su was innocent after all, which means the one who poisoned must be someone from the unadorned tower sect. Emojan, his face flushed red, looked at Su North and quickly stepped forward to apologize. Elder Su, I truly apologize for this. I hope you won't take it to heart. I feel truly sorry for having misunderstood you this time. In the future, if there's anything you need, please don't hesitate to ask me. However, Su North didn't seem to take it too seriously. Master of the Mo family, it's all right. As parents, it's only natural to worry and sometimes act hastily. But as it happens, there is something I'd like to ask for your help with. In the future, I plan to hold a sword sect recruitment event at Mo's Manor. Anyone who attends can receive 10 eggs. I would like to trouble the master of Mo family to help arrange the matter of the eggs. Emojan immediately patted his chest with full confidence, assuring that there would be absolutely no problem. To express his apology to Elder Su, he sincerely promised that everyone attending the speech would receive 20 eggs. Master of the Mo family, are you sure about giving 20 eggs to each person? If the crowd is large, this would amount to a significant expense. Perhaps you should carefully reconsider before making a final decision. With that, the two of them slowly walked away under the watchful eyes of the crowd. When Su North returned to the red pavilion, several sword sect disciples immediately gathered around him. Elder Su, you truly live up to your reputation. This recruitment drive has been incredibly smooth. In just 1 hour we've already received tens of thousands of applications. This year's sword sect recruitment is definitely going to break all previous records. Su North curled his lips disdainfully, clasped his hands behind his back and said leisurely, This is just the beginning? My series of strategies are far from over. Are you already getting excited? Such a lack of ambition. At that moment Su North suddenly sensed a sour scent in the air. He turned his head and noticed Xiao Ruoqing beside him, her face clearly showing something was off. He quickly reached out and touched Xiao Ruoqing's forehead. Xiao Ruoqing didn't avoid his touch, but simply looked at Su North with a complicated expression in her eyes. Disciple, why are you acting so strange? I don't think you have a fever. Have you been possessed by someone? Xiao Ruoqing did not answer Su North's question, but instead fixed her gaze on him and suddenly asked, Master, will you take Emoli as your disciple? Seeing that Su North did not respond, Xiao Ruoqing did not press further. Instead, she lowered her head and gently fiddled with her fingers. Emoli has exceptional talent and comes from a great family. Her father is even the head of one of the 4 great clans of the ancient Easter Wind Empire. Whether it's her looks or her talent, she's top tier. What's more, she holds considerable affection for you, Master. As for me, I'm just someone with neither outstanding talent nor remarkable looks. Before she could finish her words, Su North grabbed her wrist. What's wrong with you today? Your face is as red as if it's on fire. Are you jealous? Upon hearing this, Xiao Ruoqing's cheeks instantly flushed red. It's not that. Master can take whoever he wants as a disciple. Even if he were to take everyone from the red pavilion, disciple wouldn't mind either. Su North smiled kindly and patted Xiao Ruoqing's forehead again. All right, my good disciple, stop overthinking. Since we've finally come to Ink City, I'll take you to the night market tonight and pick out some nice clothes for you to change into. While Xiao Ruoqing was changing clothes unexpectedly, Su North suddenly barged in. Immediately after, a loud sharp scream was heard coming from the room. The girl stared in terror at Sue North, who had suddenly intruded. It turned out that just moments ago, Sue North had noticed Xiao Ruoqing's clothes were severely damaged, so he took her to the night market to buy new ones. Soon the two of them arrived at a shop. Soon after, Xiao Ruoqing quickly changed into a new set of clothes and came out. Just as the shop assistant finished packing and was about to hand it to them, but she accidentally knocked over a woman's package, which caught the attention of Sue North and the other person. Sue North, recognizing it was Ninth Junior sister, stepped forward to greet her. Shan Wulan, upon seeing this, merely responded with a faint hum, before turning and walking away. Sue North, seeing this, paid no further attention. After buying clothes, the two of them planned to return to their residence. However, on their way back, a fortune-telling stall caught Xiao Ruoqing's attention. "Master, the fortune-teller isn't accurate and just takes money. Want to give it a try?" Sue North curled his lips into a faint smile. He had seen too many of these ambiguous tactics before. But he still grabbed Xiao Ruoqing and walked toward the old man at the fortune-telling stall. "Sir, could you read our faces?" The old man looked at Sue North's face, then turned his gaze to Xiao Ruoqing. His expression gradually grew serious. "It seems both of you are fated to face life-threatening calamities. You might even die by her hands." A faint smile curled at the corner of Sue North's lips. He knew the old man was just bluffing. But he wasn't here for a fortune-telling anyway. He simply wanted to discuss a business deal. So he pulled the old man aside into an unoccupied corner. Xiao Ruoqing froze instantly upon hearing the old man's words, her heart racing uncontrollably. "I never expected someone to see through my intention to kill Sue North. I must be more cautious from now on." In the corner, a hushed conversation between two people slowly began. "Old sir, I have a good business deal for you. Interested? For every promising cultivator you recruit for me, I'll give you 10 spiritual stones. Once you gather 100, you can go to the sword sect to collect your payment. I know people in your line of work always have partners. Here's what you do. Recruit them as your downlines, then you earn the price difference. How's that for a business idea?" Upon hearing this, the old man's eyes lit up and he chuckled slyly. "Elder Sue, don't worry. Anyone who comes to me for fortune-telling, I'll make sure to steer every single one of them toward the sword sect." Sue North frowned. "Steer them? Didn't you calculate that this young man has a destined connection with the sword sect?" The old man quickly gave Sue North a thumbs up. After saying this, he immediately returned to his residence with Xiao Ruoqing. After returning to the room, Xiao Ruoqing changed into her new clothes and discovered that there was also an exquisite gauze shoulder garment inside. A blush instantly spread across her cheeks. How dare the shop assistant pick such a thing? That big villain is definitely not a good person. After another long while, she seemed to have convinced herself. After all, it was already bought and the clothes didn't look cheap. Maybe she should just try it on? After a moment, a scream instantly echoed throughout the red pavilion. Xiao Ruoqing stared in horror at Sue North, who had barged in unexpectedly. Sue North was also startled by the sight and quickly closed the door before turning to leave. Get some rest early. You have to give a speech at the Mo family tomorrow." The man just casually composed a poem, never expecting it would cause strange celestial phenomena to appear. Even the Confucian sage, well-versed in literature, was full of praise after hearing it. It turns out that Sue North held a speech assembly in Ink City specifically for the sex recruitment. Just by offering 20 eggs to each person who attends, this single tactic attracted crowds of citizens from all over the city to come and show their support. Soon, a long queue had formed outside Mo's manor of people waiting to hear the speech. Cartloads of eggs are being continuously transported to Mo's manor. At this moment, faint sounds of Emojan's regret could be heard inside Mo's manor. 100,000 eggs, gone in an instant? Seeing Emojan on the verge of tears, the butler approached to console him, saying, "Master, there was no other way. After all, you never mentioned that only immortal cultivators could claim the eggs. Perhaps we should just stop giving them away, master." Although Emojan felt heartache, he still waved his hand and said, "Continue distributing them. How could our Mo family be the kind to go back on our word?" Then, seeing that most people had arrived, Emojan stepped onto the stage and announced the start of the lecture. "Next, let's invite Elder Sue to the stage." The crowd below the stage looked puzzled upon hearing this and wondered, "Who is Sue North? What does he have to do with eggs?" Sue North looked calmly at the tens of thousands of listeners below the stage. Their attention was scattered, and he guessed that once the speech started, few would actually listen. It seemed he had to come up with a way to command the scene and capture their attention. So he gave a meaningful glance to the disciple behind him. The sword sect disciple understood immediately. He quickly ordered someone to release the cranes that had been prepared in advance from their cages. Then a crane soared upward, emerging from the clouds, piercing through the morning sun, and directly capturing the gaze of hundreds of thousands of people. Then voices were heard from the stage of Mo's manor. Ah, how perilous and lofty! The path of cultivation is as difficult as ascending to the heavens. All eyes converged on Sue North. However, most people couldn't understand what he was saying, so they looked at Sue North with puzzled expressions. At this moment, Sue North's voice rang out once more. For 108,000 years, it has been cut off from the mortal world. The East Wind Sword sect holds the path to immortality, capable of soaring over 20 peaks. In an instant, boundless golden light surged wildly between heaven and earth, and golden rays shot down from the sky above. And the timeless poem Sue North just recited even moved the esteemed elder of the Confucian sect to tears. Who would have thought Elder Sue could compose such an exquisite poem? Truly, each generation brings forth its own talents. I must report this good news to the sect immediately. The onlookers were all dumbfounded by the scene before them, and murmurs instantly erupted. As expected of a disciple from the Confucian sect, they can understand even this. It seems we should send our children to cultivate at the Confucian sect. Sue North wore an awkward expression. What's going on here? Why is everyone talking about the Confucian sect instead of the sword sect? Looks like I'll have to show some real skill this time. Elder Sue then waved his hand and began speaking again. Everyone is right. To cultivate well, one must join a good sect. A good sect is defined by its character and demeanor. For instance, take my sword sect. Despite countless disciples having betrayed us, our sword sect still gifted each one 1,000,000 spirit stones upon their departure from the mountain. As for those who remain loyal to my sword sect, they receive at least several 100,000,000. The crowd below, hearing that joining the sword sect also comes with spiritual stones, all clamored to join the sword sect. At the same time, inside the southern wind mansion of the national preceptor, Confucian sage Li Qiu and his daughter were reading poetry. Suddenly, a servant came to report that the eyes of the statue in the temple of the literary sage had suddenly lit up. In the ancient Eastern Wind Empire, a timeless poem had emerged. Elder Uryo had already sent the poem back. Upon hearing this, Confucian sage Li Qiu smiled with relief and said, "Indeed, every generation has its talents. However, the people of the ancient Eastern Wind Empire have always valued martial arts. It's unexpected that such a talent would emerge there. Immediately send someone to investigate and find out who this person is." The young girl beside him quickly stood up upon hearing this. "Father, let me handle this matter. I happen to have a few acquaintances in the ancient Eastern Wind Empire, and I would very much like to see them." The man's strength is comparable to the heavenly Tao. Yet now, he was instantly killed by a useless person with a single sword strike. The reason is that he awakened a talent skill, where every attack he launches is amplified to 100 times its actual effect. The two women standing nearby were utterly stunned. Sue North, who had always been mocked as useless, turned out to be this formidable just minutes ago. After finishing his speech, Sue North planned to leave Ink City. As soon as he stepped out, he saw a large crowd of people coming to bid him farewell. Sue North looked at the people of Ink City with a reluctant expression. What a lovely group of people they were. Their customs were so kind and simple. You couldn't find such qualities even if you searched with a lantern. At that moment, the siblings of the Mo family also came over to bid farewell to Sue North. Emily then gave Sue North a small gift, asking him to open it only after returning to the sword sect. Sue North smiled and put the ring away, which thoroughly infuriated Xiao Ruoqing beside him. Seeing this, Sue North had no choice but to quickly say goodbye and lead everyone away from this troublesome place. When the group reached a crossroads along the way, a disciple asked Sue North which path would be better to take. Sue North leisurely raised a finger and began to speak. "The main road is safer and shorter, while the small path is dangerous and longer." But before Sue North could even finish speaking, 3 disciples hurriedly rushed onto the main road and soon disappeared from sight. Sue North sighed helplessly. "Forget it, let them be. Disciple, you and I shall take the small path back." Upon hearing this, Xiao Ruoqing lowered her head in a fluster, her heart tangled with conflict. This great demon wants to take me to a small path, a place so deserted and remote. Could it be that he has ill intentions toward me? Master, thinking of the delicate, silky gauze scarf she was still wearing, felt a blush instantly rise to Xiao Ruoqing's cheeks. "Master, why are we taking the small path? It's very dangerous there." Sue North simply smiled faintly and said, It's precisely because everyone in the world thinks like you that they miss out on opportunities. Although the small path is perilous, it also holds more chances. Even if we encounter bad people, there's no need to fear. Isn't your master here with you? Xiao Ruoqing looked speechless and said, The problem is, you are the bad guy. But she still followed closely behind. Soon, the two arrived at the edge of a cliff. Su North then turned and asked Xiao Ruoqing behind him, Disciple, in the book The Techniques and Arts Every Protagonist Must Cultivate, that I picked for you, does it mention that the protagonist will encounter an opportunity after jumping off a cliff? Xiao Ruoqing's pupils instantly contracted. I've long since burned that book to ashes. How the hell would I know? Xiao Ruoqing forced an awkward smile. Probably yes, I think. Su North's face instantly lit up with joy. That's exactly right. Then let's hurry up. I'll take you to find that opportunity. The two of them walked to the edge of the cliff and were just about to go down to search for the opportunity when suddenly, Shan Wulan flew towards them, holding the cloud sea sword. Seeing her covered in wounds, Su North quickly stepped forward to support her. Junior sister, how did you get so badly injured? What happened? Both Su North and Xiao Ruoqing looked at the badly injured Shan Wulan in their arms with deep concern. Shan Wulan, using her last ounce of strength, barely managed to say, Senior brother, run quickly. There are experts nearby hunting down sword sect disciples. As soon as she finished speaking, Shan Wulan spat out tomato juice again. Then she fell into a coma, barely breathing. Su North was so shocked that he broke out in a cold sweat and immediately tried to wake Shan Wulan in his arms, but received no response. Master, how could this happen to Ninth Uncle Master? Could it be that she's not going to make it? Upon hearing Xiao Ruoqing's words, Su North instantly became furious and said, Shut your crow's mouth. Junior sister is still breathing. Quickly take out the healing Dan pills I gave you earlier. Xiao Ruoqing hurriedly retrieved a grand reverted Dan from her storage ring, intending to administer it to Shan Wulan. However, there was too much stagnant blood in Shan Wulan's mouth, making it impossible for her to swallow the pill. Seeing this, Su North had no choice but to help Shan Wulan sit up. He then tightly wrapped his arms around Junior Sister's slender waist, intending to help Shan Wulan expel the stagnant blood. But Xiao Ruoqing, who was standing nearby, mistakenly thought that Su North was trying to take advantage of the situation and instantly became furious. Master, what kind of timing is this? How could you take advantage of someone at a time like this? Su North pressed forcefully on Shan Wulan's abdomen with both hands, and in the next second, Shan Wulan instantly spat out 20,000 tons of tomato juice from her mouth. Then Xiao Ruoqing administered healing Dan pills to Shan Wulan. The two of them gazed at Shan Wulan, who still hadn't regained consciousness on the ground. Xiao Ruoqing, full of curiosity, asked, Master, is she going to be all right now? But Su North couldn't guarantee it either. From here on, it's up to her own fate. After a long while, Shan Wulan groggily opened her eyes and saw the smiling face of fifth senior brother right in front of her. Had they both gone to heaven together? In a daze, she also heard Su North saying something about Silky Fowl and White Phoenix Dan. Could it be that these Dan pills senior brother mentioned were meant for her? But she was clearly already dead. The next second, Shan Wulan suddenly snapped her eyes wide open. So she wasn't dead after all. Then Shan Wulan grabbed the collar of Su North's clothes with one hand and said in a panicked voice, Senior brother, don't worry about me, run quickly. But Su North calmly reassured her, Junior sister, everything is fine now. I'll take you back to the sect first, and we can talk in detail later. Just as Su North was about to stand up and take Shan Wulan away from this place, a figure in black suddenly appeared before them. The Cloud Sea Sword Immortal of the Sword Sect truly lives up to his reputation. With the strength of the middle nascent void stage, he managed to withstand a strike from two late nascent void stage experts and even escape this far. Su North stared at the masked figure with a murderous expression. Was it you who injured my junior sister? He demanded. In response to Su North's question, the masked figure sneered mockingly. Another elder from the Sword Sect? Is this all the skill you Sword Sect people have? How dare you try to establish a sect like others? It's truly laughable. Su North ignored these taunts and simply asked again. So was it you who injured my junior sister? So what if it was? With your mere divine transcendence stage cultivation, do you really think you can kill me to avenge your junior sister? Su North slowly stood up and then handed the unconscious Shan Wulan to Xiao Ruoqing to take care of. The masked man, seeing Su North's incessant rambling, decided to eliminate him first. Instantly, countless sword shadows materialized around the masked man, swiftly charging toward Su North. Just as the sword shadows were about to strike Su North, a shield appeared around him, blocking all the sword energy. Seeing this, the masked figure once again unleashed the icebound sword, 3-foot chill. Shan Wulan and Xiao Ruoqing couldn't help but worry upon seeing this scene. But Su North remained completely calm. Su North gently stroked the verdant float divine sword hanging at his waist. Immediately, a peerless verdant float divine sword rose from its sheath, spanning horizontally in front of Su North. Su North took a step forward. Then he raised his right hand. In the next moment, a pale blue sword aura soared into the sky. The heavens, originally shrouded in heavy dark clouds, were instantly tinged with a light blue hue. For a moment it made the entire world seem to pale in comparison. Then Su North delivered a light strike towards the black figure. A terrifying sword aura instantly pierced through his body, tearing it apart until not even a trace of bone remained. Only a token remained in the world, the sole remnant of his existence. I never expected that the usually aloof junior sister would turn out to be such a tsundere. She took me by surprise and kissed me directly, and immediately, a delicate sensation spread across my lips. Back to the scene, our protagonist helped the somewhat weak junior sister to rest against a tree. At this moment, Xiao Ruoqing asked in confusion, "Ninth Uncle Master, why are you being chased?" When Xiao Ruoqing's voice rang out, she then realized there were others present here. When I passed by earlier, I noticed a sword sect disciple being surrounded and attacked. I intended to step in and bring him to justice, but I was no match for that person. Listening to Shan Wulan's explanation, Su North frowned deeply. "Then, junior sister, do you know why they want to kill the disciples of my sword sect?" Shan Wulan's eyes regained their cool clarity as she said calmly, "Those disciples were all trapped within a formation shrouded in black qi. Then, their sword bones were extracted from their bodies. I suspect they came for the sword bones." As soon as Shan Wulan's words fell, Xiao Ruoqing beside her instinctively trembled violently and took an involuntary step back. Her gaze nervously fixed on Su North, because the bone extraction method Shan Wulan described was exactly the same technique Su North had used on her in her previous life. Su North didn't understand why his disciple had suddenly become as startled as a frightened cat, so he tilted his head to look at her and asked, "What's wrong, my disciple?" But on second thought, he figured she must have been frightened. After all, the matter did sound rather shocking. "It's just a pity for the second elder's disciple." Hearing this, Shan Wulan's tears began to flow uncontrollably. Seeing this, Su North quickly reached out to gently stroke her face and comforted her, saying, "Junior sister, there's no need to be sad. I believe you must have been ambushed. Otherwise, with your strength, you wouldn't have ended up like this. Senior brother, I wasn't careless. It's just that they teamed up against me, and I couldn't hold my own." Listening to Shan Wulan's explanation, Su North suddenly reacted sharply. "Junior sister, you said 2 people teamed up. That means there's another person involved?" Though Shan Wulan was somewhat puzzled as to why senior brother would be so tense given his strength, she still nodded faintly. After receiving junior sister's confirmation, Su North immediately picked up the severely injured Shan Wulan and prepared to leave the place. "Disciple, let's go." Xiao Ruoqing's eyes were misty as she stared at Su North, standing still for a moment, unable to react immediately. "Master, aren't we going to search for opportunities at the cliff anymore? Let's talk about it later. For now, we shouldn't complicate matters. Ninth junior sister's condition can't afford any more mishaps." After saying this, he dashed off toward the main road without looking back. Shan Wulan gently rested her face against Su North's chest, a faint blush spreading across her cheeks. Senior brother's embrace is truly so comfortable. After what seemed like an eternity, a panting Su North finally brought the 2 women back to the main road. Few were finally safe. At that moment, Xiao Ruoqing said with a sly look on her face, "Master, I happen to have brought some peach blossom tea. Let me brew a pot so we can rest for a bit." Shan Wulan lay quietly in Su North's embrace, her cool gaze fixed on him before she suddenly spoke. "Senior brother, are there peach blossoms in the sword sect?" Su North furrowed his brows, eyeing Shan Wulan with a puzzled expression. "Why do you ask that all of a sudden?" Meanwhile, Xiao Ruoqing, standing to the side, wore a sly expression, thinking to herself, "It seems the story Master told that day was indeed made up. Now Ninth Uncle Master is going to be angry. But such a trivial matter could hardly stump me, Su North. If junior sister wishes to see peach blossoms, there happens to be an open space on Swordless Peak. Senior brother can plant a grove of peach trees there for junior sister." Xiao Ruoqing, standing nearby, awkwardly approached with a cup of tea and said, "Master, your tea is ready." However, Su North hadn't yet reacted. A figure suddenly lunged towards her, followed by a delicate sensation on her lips, The man was actually playing a kissing game with junior sister. Unexpectedly, this scene was witnessed by his female disciple. Xiao Ruoqing, in a fit of anger, ran out sadly. Seeing this, Su North had no choice but to push junior sister away and chase after her. Xiao Ruoqing's eyes gradually welled up with tears. She had thought she wanted nothing more than to grind her master to dust, yet seeing him intimate with another woman, her own heart couldn't help but ache. Xiao Ruoqing, in her moment of sorrow, unexpectedly slipped underfoot. She accidentally fell off the cliff. Fortunately, she managed to grab the edge of the cliff halfway down, preventing herself from falling further. And she was still sulking over the kiss they had shared earlier. But at that moment, Su North's voice suddenly rang out from above. "Wasteful disciple, whatever you do, don't let go. Your master is coming to save you." But unexpectedly, she lost her grip and fell down once again. Xiao Ruoqing desperately waved her arms, circulating her spiritual energy in an attempt to fly upward, but unfortunately, she was still only at the foundation establishment stage and couldn't fly yet. But the next moment, Xiao Ruoqing suddenly felt as if she had landed on a soft body. It turned out that Su North had arrived just in the nick of time. Then Su North proceeded to lecture Xiao Ruoqing. "I told you not to let go, and what did you do? You just gave up struggling, didn't you?" Listening to Su North's reprimand, Xiao Ruoqing cried uncontrollably, her heart filled with even more bitterness. Wasn't Master kissing ninth uncle Master passionately? Hearing Xiao Ruoqing's sour words, Su North frowned. As early as in Ink City, she could already detect a faint hint of jealousy. If this continues, it really won't do. With that thought, Su North snorted coldly and scolded. "When have I ever been constantly kissing your ninth uncle Master? If I were like that, you would have probably been smashed to pieces long ago." As he spoke, a flicker of realization suddenly flashed in Su North's eyes. Did she just fall off a cliff? If I hadn't saved her just now, she probably would have discovered an opportunity at the bottom of the cliff by now. Then she would have retrieved the technique and arts from the dead monkey's belly. The next second, Su North was staring at Xiao Ruoqing with a mischievous grin. "Disciple, why don't you go jump off the cliff again?" Upon hearing Su North's words, Xiao Ruoqing was instantly dumbfounded. Has this master gone crazy from kissing Uncle Master? Without even thinking, Xiao Ruoqing flat out refused. Only a fool would jump down. Then she wanted to put some distance between herself and Su North. Seeing this, Su North quickly called out to Xiao Ruoqing. "My good disciple, when has your master ever harmed you? How could a master possibly harm their own disciple?" As soon as Su North finished speaking, Xiao Ruoqing slowly turned around and looked at him seriously. "Master, will you really not harm Qinger?" Seeing this, Su North immediately raised his hand to swear. "Of course, I am the person in the whole world who cares for my disciple the most. But come to think of it, Master has taken you as a disciple for so long, yet we've never once sat down quietly to have a heart-to-heart talk. So, disciple, what do you most want to do after cultivating immortality?" Xiao Ruoqing gently raised her head, gazing at the sky as she pondered for a long time. Qinger cultivates immortality to seek revenge. Su North looked thoughtfully at the disciple before him. "So that's how it is." Then he gently extended a hand. "Let's high-five then." Xiao Ruoqing's eyes held a hint of confusion as she looked at Su North's outstretched hand. Suddenly, Su North's voice reached her ears. "Although your master's cultivation level is not high, and I tend to be calculative about gains and losses, never caring much about the feelings of those around me, this time I want to see if I can shield you from this lingering hatred in your heart." Xiao Ruoqing understood his meaning, but instead of reaching out her hand, she lowered her gaze and asked, "Master, you will never betray Qinga, right?" "Of course, as your master, I will always protect you." Hearing Su North's gentle reply, Xiao Ruoqing tentatively raised her small hand, and then Su North gave it a light pat. Xiao Ruoqing smiled at the corner of her mouth, but tears still welled up in her eyes. The knot in her heart seemed to suddenly loosen. Then Qinger doesn't want revenge anymore. Qinger cultivates immortality because she wants to protect the important people. "So, my good disciple, can we now jump off the cliff to seek our opportunity?" Xiao Ruoqing pursed her lips for a moment, then said, "Jumping off the cliff is fine, but I have one small request. We must bring Ninth Uncle Master along to jump with us." "Ninth Uncle Master, you were the one who started this, so don't blame me. Junior sister actually took me by surprise and kissed me directly. Unexpectedly, this scene was witnessed by my female disciple. So, in a fit of anger, she decided to drag us all to jump off a cliff in search of an opportunity." Su North had no choice but to agree. When Shan Wulan heard Su North say he would take her to jump off the cliff together, Her heart was filled with wild joy. I never expected that senior brother loves me so much, he even wants to jump off a cliff with me. But when she saw the bottom of the cliff, shrouded in thick clouds, she remained silent for a long time before finally speaking. Senior brother, are you sure you want to jump down from here? Su North nodded. Is there a problem? It's just a cliff, isn't it? However, Shan Wulan's expression turned serious. This is none other than Regretless Cliff, one of the legendary 8 great secret realms. Just standing at the edge of the cliff, he could feel the spiritual energy around him becoming stagnant. But seeing the two of them hesitating, Su North gave them a push from behind. With a splash unexpectedly, there was a pool of water beneath the cliff. After climbing ashore, Su North couldn't help but secretly breathe a sigh of relief. See? I told you jumping off the cliff wouldn't be a problem. Then 2 beautiful scenes suddenly appeared in his eyes. Under the moonlight, because both of them were completely soaked, their graceful figures could be clearly seen. Xiao Ruoqing noticed Su North staring straight at her, and a blush instantly spread across her face. She looked at Su North with a mix of embarrassment and anger, saying, Master, turn around quickly. You're not allowed to look anymore. Shan Wulan turned around upon hearing this and glanced at Xiao Ruoqing. Then a look of disgust appeared on her face. That bitch is actually wearing the dress I lost. How shameless, she put it on as soon as she got it. Who is she trying to seduce? Seeing Su North covering his eyes, Shan Wulan walked over to Xiao Ruoqing, gathered the little spiritual energy she had left in her body, and evaporated the excess water stains from her clothes. Xiao Ruoqing gratefully thanked Shan Wulan. Nephew disciple, no need to thank me, it was just a small effort. At that moment, Su North's voice suddenly rang out. Disciple junior sister, quickly look at that pair of skeletons over there. They are arranged so neatly and symmetrically, there must be some kind of opportunity here? But the two of them didn't pay any attention to Su North at all, watching Shan Wulan stare straight at them like that. Xiao Ruoqing finally couldn't hold back and spoke up. Ninth uncle master? Is there something on this disciple? Nothing. I'm just a bit curious about your talent. But inwardly he was cursing furiously. Damn it, you bitch. How dare you wear my clothes and then come ask me? Just at that moment, the two suddenly heard Su North, who was walking ahead, speak up. What is this? Shan Wulan stepped forward to take a look and said, This is the celestial fate herb. It blooms once every 20 years, and each petal has the effect of obscuring heavenly secrets and creating illusions. Just then Xiao Ruoqing suddenly asked, Master, is this the opportunity we've been looking for? Su North was also baffled as he looked at the celestial fate herb. Could this really be my disciple's opportunity? But it seems too underwhelming. As Su North was deep in thought, a low rumbling snoring sound suddenly echoed around them. Su North and the others instantly assumed defensive stances, scanning their surroundings warily. Then they saw a massive Yaoguai tiger slowly approaching. Shan Wulan's eyes instantly showed a look of shock. Su North turned to the two women and said softly, The Yaoguai tiger's target should be this celestial fate herb, as long as we don't touch the herb. But as soon as he finished speaking, the Yaoguai tiger roared furiously and charged at the three of them. I never expected that this great Yaoguai could unleash such power with just a roar. Seeing this, Su North quickly pushed Xiao Ruoqing to the ground to protect her, then turned to Shan Wulan and said, Junior sister, quickly restrain your sword aura. If it senses that we have no hostile intentions, it won't attack us anymore. But awkwardly, the celestial fate herb happened to bloom at that moment. In the next moment, it instantly attracted countless Yaoguai beasts to compete for this flower. Although the celestial fate herb is only a relatively precious natural treasure for human cultivators, for the fierce beasts, it is an exceedingly rare divine object. The area below Regretless Cliff is filled with terrifying auras. Even Su North and the other two, who had taken refuge far away, could feel this terrifying surge of energy. Senior brother, it's a beast tide. What should we do now? Junior sister, don't worry, I have a plan. Fortunately, I prepared an exorcising incense earlier. Even the surging beast tide will detour around us once they smell this exorcising incense. Once the Yaoguai tiger and the countless fierce beasts are exhausted from fighting each other, we can take advantage of the chaos to snatch the celestial fate herb. After the Yaoguai tiger let out a furious roar, it then began to slaughter the surrounding Yaoguai beasts in a frenzy. Shan Wulan's eyes were fixed on the scene before him with great intensity. Senior brother, that great Yaoguai probably already has the strength of Tao convergence. While it's still fighting monsters and hasn't noticed us, let's quickly and quietly take the celestial fate herb and slip away. After Yaoguai tiger finished dealing with the small fries, It immediately wanted to go grab the celestial fate herb. Unexpectedly, it suddenly discovered that someone else was eyeing the celestial fate herb. It immediately underwent a super evolution for its weary body. After obtaining the celestial fate herb, Su North planned to slip away with his disciple. But at that moment, Xiao Ruoqing suddenly felt as if it was raining from the sky. What kind of rain was this, with such large drops, and it was sticky too? The girl before him, having been used by the man while she was unconscious, the first thing she did upon waking was to thank the man. It turned out that while the two were seeking opportunities at Regretless Cliff, they encountered a Yaoguai tiger with strength comparable to Dao Convergence. Before the group from Su North could react, it swung its claws and attacked the three of them. With a single swipe of its claw, it instantly caused the ground to crack and tremble. Although they barely managed to dodge, Xiao Ruoqing was directly knocked unconscious by the shockwave. Even Su North was severely injured by the aftershock. Is this Yaoguai tiger insane? Does it attack humans relentlessly the moment it sees them? As soon as Su North finished speaking, the Yaoguai tiger raised its claws again and swiped at Su North. At the critical moment, a graceful figure appeared, stepping through the void, and instantly positioned herself in front of Su North. Cloud Sea 7 styles mountain and river. A vast expanse of cloud sea, sword energy shot out in all directions, and with a thunderous roar, it clashed with the terrifying giant claw of the Yaoguai tiger. Immediately after, Shan Wulan shouted to Su North, "Hurry and leave! I'm too severely injured and can't hold on much longer." Then she was sent flying by the Yaoguai tiger. Su North looked at the flying Shan Wulan in disbelief, unable to accept that his nascent Void Stage junior sister had been defeated in a single blow. Su North hurriedly tied the unconscious disciple to his back. Then, channeling all the spiritual energy throughout his body, he charged straight toward Shan Wulan. Then he caught Shan Wulan, who was falling from the sky, and gently held his ninth junior sister's warm and soft body in his arms. However, as soon as he applied a little force, Shan Wulan immediately vomited a mouthful of blood. "Senior brother, you said that after we return, you would plant the swordless peak full of peach blossoms for me. Does that promise still stand?" After saying this, she closed her eyes and fainted. Su North looked at the white-haired woman in his arms, and a big danger suddenly appeared in his heart. "My dear ancestor, what kind of flag are you raising at a time like this?" But Su North's lips still curled into a gentle smile. "Of course it counts. You should rest well for now. Watch your senior brother cut down this Yaoguai tiger with a single strike." Shan Wulan's lips curved into a beautiful arc. It seemed as if she had heard Su North's promise. Su North took a deep breath and placed the two women to the side. Then spiritual chi instantly coursed through his entire body, coiling around the verdant float sword. Then he roared loudly, "Even if I die today, I will carve a piece of flesh from you." A pale blue sword aura instantly shot up into the sky, followed by a peerless divine sword slowly unsheathing from Su North's scabbard, then positioning itself horizontally between Su North and the Yaoguai tiger. He had intended to use the power of the verdant float sword to see if he could severely injure the Yaoguai tiger. However, before Su North could finish gathering his strength, the Yaoguai tiger's claws were already lunging toward him. Then, he was pinned under the foot of the Yaoguai tiger. But the next second, a faint sound was heard. Sword 1 unwavering and profound. In the next second, Yaoguai tiger's claw was pierced through by a sword. Then it saw tomato juice gushing out incessantly. But this thoroughly enraged Yaoguai tiger, who immediately slapped Su North and sent him flying. He crashed heavily into the hard rocks. Yaoguai tiger looked at its injured paw, never expecting that this seemingly weak human could actually harm it. Su North gasped for breath, struggling to stand up, trying his best to appear calm and composed. This sword strike can actually injure a Dao Convergence stage great Yaoguai. It truly lives up to its reputation as the sect's ultimate treasure. But just this one move has drained all of my spiritual energy. Yaoguai tiger widened its eyes, seeing that Su North was unharmed. In the next moment, it once again moved its terrifying body, pressing toward Su North like a small mountain. Helpless, Su North could only stand quietly in place, waiting for death. But just at this critical moment, suddenly a cold wind swept through, covering the ground with frost. Yaoguai tiger's limbs were instantly frozen solid. Then a cold, clear voice echoed throughout the base of Regretless Cliff. "You wretched beast, how dare you commit such slaughter without cause? Today, I shall act on behalf of heaven to eliminate you." The Yaoguai tiger instantly seemed to have encountered something terrifying, frantically fleeing into the distance. Immediately after, the ethereal figure raised her delicate hand and gently waved it toward the Yaoguai tiger fleeing into the distance. A voice filled with supreme authority flowed forth. Auspicious phoenix descends. A stream of icy light surged from her palm. A large bird adorned with 9 phoenix feathers let out a cry as it gazed down upon the earth, then instantly charged toward the yaoguai tiger. Immediately afterward, a terrifying explosion rang out, and beneath regretless cliff, the usual tranquility was restored once more. Just as Su North was secretly relieved that he was finally saved. The next second, the woman placed her sword directly against his neck. Then with an icy expression she said calmly, "Are you here for the celestial fate herb as well?" Hearing this, Su North had a moment of clarity. So this woman was also after the celestial fate herb. "Fairy has saved our lives, so the celestial fate herb is yours to take." Su North then pointed to the location of the celestial fate herb. At that moment the woman suddenly asked Su North curiously, "I see that you are only at the later divine transcendence stage. How were you able to injure that yaoguai tiger?" Su North hesitated for a moment, unsure how to answer, and so he changed the subject. "I am Su North, the 5th elder of the sword sect. Thank you, Fairy, for saving my life. May I ask for your honorable name?" The woman noticed Su North's gaze and hesitated for a moment before replying coldly, "Freelance cultivator, Southern Princess." She then took out a bottle of Dan pills from her storage ring. She handed it to Su North. "You're not seriously injured. Take these Dan pills and you'll be fine." Su North looked at the woman with a, "You've got to be kidding me" expression. A freelance cultivator who can reach the tribulation stage and kill a Tao convergence cultivator with one palm strike? But he still reached out and took the Dan pills. "To be honest, I don't even know how I got injured by that yaoguai tiger. Maybe it's because I've been cultivating diligently every day. Persistence wears down iron to a needle." The Southern Princess raised her head, her eyes thoughtful as she looked at Su North. Does the Sword One technique, when practiced to its peak, really possess such power? Su North smiled meaningfully but did not answer the question. After all, he himself wasn't sure. Then he stood up and fed the 2 injured and unconscious women some Dan pills. There are only a handful of people in this world who have reached the tribulation stage cultivation level. Hearing Su North's words, the Southern Princess replied, "In that case, Elder Su, why not take a guess at my true identity? There are indeed very few tribulation stage cultivators in the world. Aside from a few old men, the rest are all elderly. With a fairy's graceful and dignified demeanor like yours, I'm afraid you must be that esteemed one from the sacred land." The Southern Princess just quietly watched Su North, never expecting that he would mistake her for Yao Yan. But there was no need to deny it. Today she might as well play along and put on a good act. Seeing the woman in front of him staring silently, Su North thought he must have guessed correctly and couldn't help but feel secretly pleased. She is the saintess, qualified to command all sects under heaven. If I can get close to her, wouldn't it be easy to deal with any sect I dislike in the future? With this thought, Su North's smile widened even more. He reached out and offered the roasted meat in his hand, saying with a grin, "Fairy Southern, try my cooking. The taste of this Tao convergence tiger's paw surely won't disappoint." Seeing Su North's eager-to-please demeanor, Southern Princess was momentarily taken aback, then broke into a smile. This venerable one has never eaten such things. This only strengthened Su North's conviction about her identity. To be so pampered and well-fed that she wouldn't even deign to eat Tao convergence meat. Who else in the entire world could be like this? At that very moment, she suddenly heard Shan Wulan's cough. Su North immediately turned her head to take a look. Shan Wulan's brows were tightly furrowed, with beads of cold sweat seeping from her forehead, and her face had turned much paler. When Shachi saw this scene, Su Bei felt a bit anxious. He turned to look at Princess Nanxian and asked, "Nanxian, do you have a way to treat junior sister's injuries? Earlier, junior sister was chased and accidentally got hurt. Those lingering energies are still blocking the flow of her spiritual energy." After hearing Su Bei's description, Princess Nanxian was also greatly shocked upon examining the situation. "I never expected that after all these years, this thing still exists within the 21 prefectures." Su North quickly asked Fairy Southern if there was a way to resolve it. Fortunately, the amount of Sha Qi remaining in her body wasn't much, and I could only temporarily suppress it. The Miao tribe of the Southern Wind Ancient Kingdom has quite a bit of research on this Sha Qi. If you want to completely eliminate the hidden danger of Sha Qi, I'm afraid you'll have to make a trip to the Southern Wind Ancient Kingdom. Southern Wind Ancient Kingdom? I'll remember that. Thank you for the advice, Fairy. Then the sky gradually began to brighten. Seeing that the time was about right, Southern Princess stood up and looked at Su North, speaking calmly. "Though we met by chance, I found our conversation quite engaging. Since that's the case, I shall grant you a stroke of fortune. Su North's eyes lit up. But then with his hands clasped behind his back, he looked at Southern Princess and said seriously, I have long since grown indifferent to the pursuit of immortality. Life and death are fated. Wealth and honor are determined by heaven. I no longer have any desire for fortune or destiny. If Fairy Southern is willing, it would be better to bestow this opportunity upon my disciple. Su North then pointed to Xiao Ruoqing, who was still in a deep sleep. Southern Princess stared at Su North in astonishment. At this moment, she realized she couldn't see through this man at all. In this day and age, there actually existed someone so detached and serene. Southern Princess's cool gaze fell upon Su North. Are you sure? This opportunity is truly extraordinary for you. Hearing this, the light in Su North's eyes grew even brighter. If it was an incredible, heaven-defying opportunity even for him, then how much cultivation level would be reflected back to him if he channeled it into his prodigal disciple? He forcibly suppressed the excitement within him. Su North, with his hands behind his back, tried to appear even more composed and carefree as he looked at Southern Princess and said with a light laugh, Fairy Southern, to be honest, my original intention in descending the regretless cliff this time was to find some opportunities for my disciple. However, I ended up finding nothing, and instead both my junior sister and my disciple got injured because of it. My disciple possesses exceptional talent, yet she ended up with a mediocre master like me. That's why I want her future to go even further. At the very least, she shouldn't end up like her master. She deserves to see a broader sky. After hearing this, Southern Princess nodded gently, then carefully examined Xiao Ruoqing before her. An innate Dao body truly counts as exceptional talent. This opportunity was sought for you by your master. Be serious and try to feel it with your heart. Southern Princess looked expressionlessly at Xiao Ruoqing and said coldly, the Sword Sect's sword manual actually contains 2 types of sword qi. The sword manual currently held by the Sword Sect preserves the Immortal Path Sword qi, while the other is the King Path Sword qi. Compared to the Immortal Path Sword qi, the King Path Sword qi carries an even stronger intent to kill. Southern Princess gently extended her slender jade-like finger and lightly tapped Xiao Ruoqing's glabella. A stream of pure spiritual energy, infused with the imprint of the King's Path Sword qi technique, was then softly transmitted into Xiao Ruoqing's sea of consciousness. This move of the King's Path Sword is called severing mountains and rivers. Then one witnessed the unparalleled sword qi of the King's Path, which swept away all obstacles and advanced fearlessly. With a single strike it cleaved through half the sky. At the very moment Xiao Ruoqing was frantically digesting the pure energy within her body, a crisp sound instantly echoed in Su North's mind. Congratulations, host, your eldest disciple has comprehended the second form of the King Path Sword Manual, severing mountains and rivers. The system is randomly providing an 8,848-fold feedback. Feeling the changes in his body, Su North smugly thought, using this female disciple is just too satisfying. Then Xiao Ruoqing slowly woke up and walked up to Su North. Then, under Su North's astonished gaze, she lifted her robe and knelt on the ground, bowing respectfully to Su North. Master, you are not an ordinary master. In your disciple's heart, you are the greatest master. You already know everything? Xiao Ruoqing slowly raised her head, her beautiful eyes gazing directly into Su North's. A charming curve appeared at the corner of Xiao Ruoqing's lips, and for the first time, a smile graced her usually cold and expressionless face. Su North blinked, looking at this spendthrift disciple who had never shown him such deep respect before, and couldn't help but sigh inwardly. Am I really as great as you say? The girl bowed to her savior as her master. Yet she was determined to reduce her master to ashes. Because in her previous life, Su North refined her into a furnace vessel and drained her life force day and night until she died. In this life, she has been reborn and vows to crush Su North's bones to dust and scatter his ashes. But now she has once again become Su North's little fangirl. Simply because Su North not only saved her when she was injured and unconscious, but also gave up the hard-won opportunity entirely to her. However, she had no idea that since Su North crossed over, he had awakened the disciple recruitment 10,000-fold feedback system. Whenever a disciple's cultivation level improves, he himself receives a 10,000-fold feedback in cultivation level. With this thought, Su North helped Xiao Ruoqing up from the ground. At that moment, the Southern Princess suddenly spoke up. Su North, you are a good master and have a good disciple. She then took out the Dao Convergence Yaoguaidan from her storage ring and said, I shall give this Dao Convergence Yaoguaidan to both of you as a token of witness. Seeing this, Su North quickly declined. Fairy Southern, this is absolutely not acceptable. I have already received your great kindness earlier. Please take this Yaoguaidan back. The southern princess replied. This venerable one still owes a favor to your sword sect from back in the day. Today, granting your disciple an opportunity and giving you this Yaoguaidan can be considered as repaying that debt to the sword sect. How about it? Plus, if this Yaoguaidan can be refined into Dan pills, it could also heal your junior sister's injuries. Upon hearing this, I quickly accepted this generous gift. This time it can be considered a complete success. Since that's the case, it's time for me to return. After that, she waved goodbye to Su North and the other person, then rode her sword and flew away. The two of them quietly watched the direction in which the southern princess had departed. At that moment, Xiao Ruoqing suddenly spoke up. Master, that fairy is truly a kind-hearted person. Of course, came the reply. How could the saintess of the sacred land possibly be a bad person? Hearing Su North's words, Xiao Ruoqing looked completely bewildered. Master, but I remember that direction leads to the capital. Could it be that the sacred land is also located within the capital? Su North, holding Yaoguaidan, chuckled and said, perhaps the saintess in her venerable age simply wants to stroll around the capital and maybe grab some candied fruits and pastries while she's at it. He then handed Yaoguaidan to Xiao Ruoqing and picked up the unconscious Shan Wulan from the ground. Turning his head to Xiao Ruoqing behind him, he said, all right, let's go. It's time for us to return to the sword sect. At this moment, Xiao Ruoqing was lost in admiration. All the way she gazed dreamily at Su North. At this moment, Xiao Ruoqing suddenly called out, Su North. Su North turned to look at her with a gentle expression, thinking something had happened again, and asked, what's wrong, disciple? But then he saw Xiao Ruoqing's cheeks instantly flush with a deep blush, and she just stared at him dreamily. Master, it's nothing. I just wanted to call your name. Hearing this, Su North rolled his eyes in exasperation. Afterwards, the two set off once again on their journey back to the sword sect. She furrowed her brows slightly, deliberately stepping only in Su North's footprints.